I want you to know that when she saw Ed Westcott's picture of the Calutron Girls, that's when she got the idea to write a book about the girls of Atomic City. The rest is history, so to speak, because bless her heart, she has done the most as an ambassador for Oak Ridge of anyone we've ever had. She goes all around the country and explains to people that yes, Oak Ridge is still there. And yes, we still have things happening here. It wasn't just the Manhattan Project. There are lots of other things that are going on in Oak Ridge. So she does an excellent and outstanding job for us there. She's also involved in the activities that are being taking place right now as we speak about the Manhattan Project National Historical Park. So what I would like to have you do is to help me welcome Denise Kiernan.
One of the things that is always the best part of any talk that I give, no matter where I am, if it's down the road in Tennessee or if it's out in San Francisco, California, is when someone in the audience has a personal connection to Oak Ridge or to Hanford or to Los Alamos, or can say, I worked there, I was born there, my parents worked there, my aunts worked there. And when someone in the audience stands up and says, you know, I was in Oak Ridge or I was in Los Alamos, people are just enthralled, which is what I love about tonight, because we're going to get to hear from the real important people in this story. It's not the people who write the stories or who tell the stories. It's the people who lived the stories. So I'm thrilled to be here with these fine ladies and hear a little bit more about their experiences. Would you guys like to hear a little bit more about their experiences? Yes. Yay. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I am going to ask a question, and I'm going to allow each one of you to respond to it. And we're going to start out very, very basic, which is tell me your name and your, if you don't mind, your age. It's up to you. You can say 37 or 39 or whatever you want, and where you're from. So we'll start here and move our way down. Leaning right into here. We can get these out of the way.
My name is Hazel Franklin. Graduated from Powell High School, but I had quit school and worked and went back to school to graduate, so I was older than the class that was graduating. I was 19.
How old were you when you quit school to go to work?
17, I guess.
17? Where did you work when you quit school to go to work?
The first job, I worked at a dime store. At a candy counter of all things. The next thing I worked at Goodall Company. We were making field jackets for the Army. Then I realized that I really needed that little piece of paper because I had enough credits, but I didn't have the correct two. I did not have fourth year English. I didn't have the history. I had to go back to school to get those.
Oh my God, you have to get the history.
I had to get them. Those were the two really ones. So went back to school, and then I already knew my husband. He lived right down the road from me, the one that I married, Dewey Franklin. He was already working here at Oak Ridge. Okay. I graduated on May the 21st, got married on May the 25th.
All right.
And,
all right. Not wasting any time.
Came to work down here in the middle of June.
So you...
46.
Did you come from a big family?
There were 6 of us.
6 of you. So did you quit school so you could help
sort
get things along? Mm-hmm.
That wasn't really necessary. My dad always had a good job. Mm-hmm. But it just seemed like the right thing right then, an opportunity. So as a kid, I thought that's the right thing, and I did it.
All right.
Then I went back and
finished your business.
Finished back to school.
All right. Okay.
I'm Peggy Stewart. I was born in Sneedsville, Tennessee. I was 15 years old when I graduated from high school.
That's young.
Well, I'm still young.
Yeah.
I still like to have lots of fun. I don't have a history like Hazel has, but I enjoy life.
But you graduated high school at 15?
When I was 18.
18, okay.
I graduated in May and come down here the following month. And
Were you from a big family?
There was 5 of us.
And where were you living?
Pardon?
Where were you living?
Sneedville, Tennessee.
Sneedville,
And
pardon me, I don't
County.
know. Okay.
Well, that's God's country, in case you want.
Okay.
And what else you want to know?
I just wanted to know where you were from and how old you were, if you want to offer, yeah.
Well, I don't mind.
All right. You're young anyway.
I'm 88 years old and still holding. Next month,
Yeah.
11th, I'll be 89.
Woo-hoo! All right, let's slide that on down. There you go.
I'm Ruth Heddleston, and I live in Oliver Springs, Tennessee, and that's where I lived when I worked here. And I too graduated from high school, and I had taught school a year, believe it or not, before I started working at the plant.
Where did you teach school?
Well, it's on top of Windrock, Tennessee. I don't know whether anybody knows where that is or not, but that's where I
Wait, sounds like a few people know where that is, yeah.
And I got a job. I was 18 at the time, and I got married and after my husband came back from overseas, and then after that I went back to college and fulfill my dream of teaching school, and I also was a guidance counselor for 29 years. And as far as age, last week I was 90.
Woo! Yay! Happy birthday! So moving forward toward the beginning of the war, do you guys have memories of Pearl Harbor?
Oh, I do.
You all do?
Oh,
Okay, why don't we
yes.
take turns? Why don't you, Hazel, what are your memories of Pearl Harbor?
Well, that was one of the most devastating radio communications you could ever have, was whenever they told us about.
You heard about it on the radio?
On the little radio.
Did you guys hear about it on the radio too?
Radio and at school.
Mm-hmm. What did you think?
I didn't believe it right at first.
Really?
Until everybody got to talking about it, and then you listened
Mm-hmm.
and found out for sure.
What seemed so unbelievable about it?
Things like that just couldn't happen.
Mm-hmm. Right.
We didn't know what to think in our town.
We didn't either.
You didn't either, Ruth?
Well, it was real when 2 of the boys in our community, they came to tell them they were no longer with us.
So you had 2 boys from your community that died in Pearl Harbor?
Yes.
So that really struck home for you guys?
Yes, that really struck home.
Did you all start thinking more about did you feel like the war started to be more of a presence in your lives at that point?
When you have a member of the family deceased in it, you think about it.
Mm-hmm. Did you
My
lose someone in
brother-
Pearl
my
Harbor?
brother- No, not at Pearl
Oh,
Harbor.
okay. But you all had, you had a brother who fought and passed?
He was a gunner on an airplane.
Mm-hmm. What was his name?
Henry Alder.
Henry Alder?
Mm-hmm.
Older brother or younger brother?
He was 2 years older than I. We were all 2 years separated down the line.
How many?
5, I think, and 6. I'll have to count. Betty thought, yes, true. Well, we had one I never did know. So we had 5, 11.
And how old was he when he went off to fight?
Right out of high school, 18. He went to Maryland first, and then he joined up there. And when I come home, he asked me about my boyfriends, and I told him, well, is he in service? I said, no, but I didn't tell him he was a 4F, and he made fun of it.
Oh, no! Oh, no.
But anyway, we got along. When we were together at home, we were like that. We took up for each other. My 2 older sisters took up for themselves. And then when we'd all get in a fight together, Mother and Dad didn't know it because we all get it. But we did fight.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a good time on the farm.
And where was he stationed?
Pardon?
Where was he stationed when he was a gunner?
You know, I don't know. I don't remember. I don't have any of the details. My son had them, and I refused to read them at that particular time. And I wished I had now, but I don't.
Ruth, did you have anybody you knew in the war?
My future husband at that time.
Really?
Yeah.
Did you know him before he went to the war, or did you meet him after?
Yes.
Where was he?
He was in Germany and France and all over England.
Did you write letters to him while he was away?
Yeah.
Did you do V-mail? You don't have to tell us what was in the letters. It's okay. Did you do the V-mails? You get the little snippets of V-mail back? Did you get letters back from him that were
Oh,
on
yes.
smaller strips of paper?
Yes.
Yes. That's right. So what I'm interested about is how did each of you first hear, we'll start with you this time, Ruth. How did you first hear about Oak Ridge?
Well, I could see it happening.
Right. I like to say to people, when I talk, I was like, Oak Ridge was secret, but it wasn't invisible. There were clearly things being built. So you were in Oliver Springs, or nearby,
You
right?
just had to, if you went to Clinton, you had to pass, where it was, where the things were beginning to happen before they, got it where we couldn't get through that way. But
What did you think was going on over here?
nobody knew, but that's all you could hear at school, at church, anywhere you went. What's going on over there?
Could you see delivery trucks and things coming in?
Yes. It was quite something to think about, really, because, it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was all farmland,
And Peggy, how did you hear about Oak Ridge?
I had recruiters to come to my senior class and invited us all to come down. Well, I had a friend that she came down first because she graduated before I did, and she got lonesome and she went back home. And she wanted to try again, so I said, I'll go with you. And they hired me, but they didn't hire her because she got lonesome and left. They wanted someone to stay. They needed people to work.
Sure. Yeah.
And I think my name got around in town everywhere where they really gave me a good send-off, so that's why I come here.
So what intrigued you what made you want to come here for a job as opposed to just staying where you were?
You want to go away from home when you're 18 to see the world.
It was your sense of adventure.
Well, where do you go living on a farm and no way to go? Where do you go? You walk to town. You do the farm. Thank you. And there's nothing in a small town like I lived in to do, really. Oh, in school you played basketball, softball, and things like that, and I participated in those. And that's just about all the fun you had. Because on a farm, way back when, you didn't have the money, and you didn't have a car to go in. So you made your own fun at home.
So you came here because you were looking for fun?
I wanted to make all my money myself.
That's right.
I didn't have any money at home, so I wanted to make some money.
All right.
And I loved it here.
Hazel, how did you find out about Oak Ridge?
Well, like I said, through the radio at first, but the main thing that was changed around our little life around in the country was the schools just got so exploded with people. They even had to divide the auditorium and put this little section for like one grade and this little section for another grade because everybody just came here to work and they all had families. And there was trailer parks made up overnight all down Clinton Highway. And
So how old were each of you when you arrived in Oak Ridge? Ruth, how old were you when you got here?
You mean when I went to work?
When you arrived at Oak Ridge, yeah.
18.
18. Peggy?
Same, 18.
18. Hazel?
19.
19. Okay, so still young women. What did you think when you first saw the place?
I was amazed.
Will I ever learn to run around this town? And all you had to do is buy tokens, get on a bus, and they'd take you anywhere. And if you wanted to go somewhere else, they asked for a transfer, and you could go on that bus anywhere all over town. So I enjoyed it.
What did you think when you first saw it?
Well, it was just different to me. My husband had put in for different places for us to live, and the place we got was a trailer park.
Which trailer park?
Number 2.
Number 2? That's so Oak Ridge. Which house? A. Which trailer park? Number 2.
That's all I found that out today. That was the number 2 trailer park. And I lived on Meadowlark Lane. And the little trailers was like a wagon.
Like a little semicircle. Yeah.
Semicircle.
Like
with
they
the
should have a
building
campfire in the
very middle.
Yeah.
That was, you had to go there for showers and restroom and everything. From the trailer back and forth to there. You could carry a bucket of water back. You had a sink in the little trailer. You could wash dishes or whatever there if you wanted to, but they had a big garbage can like bucket underneath there.
The slop jar.
No, you went there for that.
Okay.
This was catch dishwater and things in.
Okay.
Underneath, and they had a truck kind of like we have today of a garbage truck that came around and dumped that water out of everybody's bucket every day that they had used there. The stove in the trailer was a little kerosene stove, and you had this thing you put over the top of it to bake your little oven. What I did, I burned my cornbread on one side, turned it over and burned it on the other side.
I'm glad people did that back then too.
But you had you did your washing at an old ringer washer in the middle of the park. And to get you had a time slot for 1 hour that you could use the washing machine. But how you did it, you gave them a quarter for the agitator. That's how
the
you
thing
did
that turned
it.
around, sure.
Without an agitator, you couldn't wash. So that's how they regulated it. But the way that we worked 7 days on daytime, day shift, the next 7 days on second shift, and the next 7 days on midnight shift or graveyard shift.
Graveyard shift.
Then you're off for 4 days. But they scheduled your washing times kind of like people that didn't work.
The laundry times,
The
right?
laundry time, so you had a hard time figuring out when. So you kind of saved them up and took them home when you had your 4 days off.
How big were
just did what you had to do in
washing?
between.
How big were the washing machines?
Just a plain old washer, just that everybody else had. Just like a Maytag washer that had with the wringer.
Yeah.
And you hung your clothes on the clothesline. So if you had to do other things, you run a line through your little 18-foot trailer, and you hung up what you had to have in between.
Yep.
Well, you didn't have time to do them. That was it.
Peggy, where did you live?
Dormitories. I had all the good life.
Which dorm were you in?
Oh, golly, I can't remember. I was in 3 of them. I can't remember their names.
Okay.
I'm too young to.
Did you have
But we had a laundry room. We had to do.
Washboard?
I wished we had a washboard, but we didn't have one. You used your knuckles. I played a lot of basketball, not basketball, well, basketball too, but I played a lot of softball, and when I'd come home, oh boy, here goes the load in the washer already. But it was a lot of fun. It kept me busy. And
Did you have a roommate?
Pardon?
Did you have a roommate?
Sometimes, but not all the time. Most of the time I was by myself, which was good, and it was smaller, but it still costs the same as the other. It didn't cost very much at all. What I remember paying was $15 a month. And
That sounds very reasonable.
it was.
On today's level.
Hey, it helps you when you first start working because you don't know what you're going to get in those 2 weeks.
So how did you get to work every day?
They had buses run all the time over here. And it was so unusual. The bus that we had to ride was, had a, like a haul cattle in behind it. And it had benches on each side of it, and it was hooked to another bus. Yeah. And that's what we rode in.
So you rode on a bus cattle car to come to work?
Yes. And we got tickets that were $5 a month to ride there and back.
Do you all of you worked at Y12, correct?
I did.
Okay. Do you all remember which buildings or which?
9204-3.
9204.
Now, don't lie if that building's still standing.
There you go. It's going to be a part of the national park.
Thanks, Ray.
Ruth, Peggy, Ruth, Peggy, Hazel. Hazel, you remember which building you were in?
No, I do.
No.
Same one, Hazel.
Oh, is that true? Did you guys know each other?
No.
No. Okay.
Different shift.
Different shifts. Sure. Do you guys, do you remember what your training was like? Because you had to go through training before you could actually work, right?
No, they set you down and told you what to do, and you did that. And if you needed help, you had someone to come and help you.
Okay. Hazel, were you trained?
A little.
A little?
I was.
Connie Bowling?
Bowling was.
I remember Connie. Anybody else remember Connie? Yeah.
Connie was a dear friend.
There's
Connie now.
he was a wonderful guy.
Connie was a wonderful man. I had the pleasure of meeting him, yes. So he trained you?
He trained me, then he was my instructor, and as well as my supervisor.
Ruth, do you remember doing training?
Yes, they also told us what not to do.
Oh, what did they? Probably more than they told you what to do. What did they tell you not to do?
Well, number one, they told, in other words, just keep your mouth shut. You're not supposed to tell anybody anything about what you're doing. Mm-hmm. Well, we didn't know anything to tell.
The way the security was at that time was odd in comparison to today's. We had a badge that we had on the outside. Mm-hmm. When you come to the gate, you gave the guardettes, they called them, little guardette stations, you gave them that badge. For instance, if it was white, you traded it and they gave you a blue one, just like it. You went a little farther to another guardette station, you gave them the blue one, they gave you an orange one. then you went farther and you maybe gave them the orange or they gave you a purple one. That was the way they kept the security going. And then you went to the building that you were working at, and you went in and you had to take off all your street clothes and wear uniforms. And they designated them, they signed them out to you. Had to wear those when I went up to work. Came back, you changed back to your own clothes, and when you left the shift, you reversed those badges to get home.
So you'd get up in the morning. Did you go to the cafeteria?
If you wanted to eat, you did.
Did you? You weren't one of those girls cooking hard-boiled eggs under the hot water in the dorm?
No, we wasn't allowed to cook in my dorms, the ones that I was in.
Oh, you weren't allowed to cook in any of the dorms, but I've heard of secret methods, yes.
No, I didn't do that. Now, one roommate and I got so hungry one time, we didn't have too much money, and what we did for that week, we bought a whole big lot of bananas, and that's what we ate that week, bananas.
So you get up, go to the cafeteria, take a bus to work.
Yeah, you can eat at the cafeteria too, and where you worked, so you could do both.
Did you talk to the folks around you while you worked?
You could, if you kept your cubicle up.
What did you guys talk about?
What'd you do last night? Where'd you go? Hey, you got a new boyfriend. Same old thing. You know teenagers, how they do.
I do.
They flippy-flop.
Flippy-flop. What are all of your, what are your favorite, what did you like most about working in Oak Ridge?
I guess that I like my job the best. Although you had to keep your eyes on it all the time, but I like doing that, just, keeping it in range. The only time I ever got nervous is when I couldn't keep it in the range that we were supposed to keep it in. But I enjoyed it.
You're not into...
So did I.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it very much, and it was a good job. There wasn't a lot of good jobs around at that time. And I'd been trained some with Mr. Bolin, and there were certain knobs you're supposed to turn to try to make the meter read high, and others you're supposed to turn to make it read low. And we had a dispatcher that came by about once every hour and read all these meters to make sure that's how they were gauged. It was something that I enjoyed because I was concentrating on them.
Peggy? You're laughing already.
Just have more fun, seems like.
I just enjoyed Oak Ridge. I still enjoy Oak Ridge. I think it's a wonderful place to live. There's a lot of people I know. They're wonderful. I get good hugs. And it's just a great place. I raised my family here. I can't pick you one definite thing that I like best. I just like Oak Ridge.
What did it, how important was it, or what did it feel like working for the war effort? Was that something that was important to you?
It was important to me as an 18-year-old to be able to earn my own money. And if it was for the war, fine. If it had been somewhere else, it would have been fine too. But yet, I got out and got away from the farm.
Did you ever wonder what was going on in Oak Ridge?
We knew it had something to do with the war, but it was never talked about. Not even war was ever said among us.
No.
Ruth, did you ever wonder what was going on?
Sure, I wondered what in the world was going on. But I knew, as she said, I knew it was something very important to the war. because they wouldn't have told us not to talk about it. But you didn't even talk about the war.
Really?
I guess you just learned not to.
Well, we were told not to at work, and even in school, you didn't. But even after I was working, the war was over when I went to work there. But signs every place. Zip your lip or you'll sink a ship, and, all these signs everywhere. Just don't, what you hear here, see here, what you hear here, leave it, stay here. And you knew that it was very, very important. But we still didn't know what we were actually doing, except to make sure this knob went high, this meter went high and that one low and all that. But we didn't know what the product was until later.
What was it like when you found out what you were working on? Do you remember the end of the war when you found out what you were working on?
Yeah.
Me?
Either one, whoever wants to start.
What was it like?
What was it like when you found out that it was a part of something so big that the whole world knew about? What was that like when you finally found out?
Well, I was excited like everybody else because the war would probably be over now. But then the next day when I heard how many could have possibly been killed, I was really disturbed for a long time because it bothered me to think that I had a part in helping kill all those people. I couldn't even sleep at night for about a week. And then I got to thinking about it. I had to weigh the good and the bad. And I thought, this is war. And if we hadn't have done it, somebody else would have done it to us. And naturally, I thought, well, my boyfriend will never get back if, it happened that way. And I finally just decided I had to accept it. And the war was over. I had to still be happy about that.
So it's a really complex range of feelings, of
Every
course.
once in a while, I still think about it, but I understand.
Of course. Peggy?
There's sometimes you don't think. So I didn't think about it one way or the other. It was over. I was happy. And I was glad the people come back home that couldn't. And I was sorry for the ones that didn't.
What would you like a visitor to take away as one of the most important things about what went on in Oak Ridge? Somebody who was visiting here from out of town. What would you like them to walk away having learned about Oak Ridge?
How that our president and our country at that time was able to do what was done here without telling everybody. They did it, and it's something to be very proud of.
I'm curious, do you ladies remember how much you were paid
Great
per hour?
question. That's a great question. Do you remember what you guys were paid hourly when you were hired?
I do not remember.
No?
I know it was good wages in comparison to what the dime store had paid.
I can remember my first paycheck,
Tell me about your first paycheck.
$75, 2 weeks.
2 weeks, $75.
We got paid by the 2 weeks.
All right. Well, I want us to, again, thank these amazing women for sharing their stories with us.
And I don't know, how do you top stories like Peggy is telling you, and impressions like Ruth had, and the memories that Hazel shared with us tonight?